Hi, how you doing? And welcome back to another video from Average FPL. And we're back. Fantasy League is live today. Fantastic feeling. I think you spend half the season thinking, my team's doing rubbish. I want to restart this whole season. And then you think about it a bit over the summer and you're ready to go. Okay, as soon as that team drops, as soon as the website's live again, you're on it and you're checking out the latest player prices, which is what we've done today. So I've thrown together a team. Took me about 5 minutes initially. Those first thoughts that you get before you spend the summer overthinking it. I've thrown it together here, and this is the team that's probably, maybe, almost definitely, possibly going to win me fantasy league this season. I'm going to talk through it, my thoughts, and why I've decided to go with certain players. And I just thought if I got a video out the day of, then it'd be really interesting to see when the season actually rolls around and that game week one kicks off, how different is my team then to what it is now? Because sometimes I'll think of a player initially and I just have to keep them in, for better or for worse on that first day of the season. So before we get into it, please, like and subscribe the video, or subscribe to the channel. We had a really good end to the season in terms of support, and it'd be great to keep it going as we get into the new Fantasy League season. So, in goal, I've decided to go with Nick Pope and Dean Henderson. So, I think you could potentially just go with Dean Henderson. I think Nick Pope is a great shout as well. I'm probably going to go with either or. Both have quite good fixtures towards the start of the season. I think Dean Henderson is that 4.5 million goalkeeper that you could just get in and leave for the whole league. Um, and the same with Nick Pope, really. I've gone with both of them just so I could have them both in there as a potential rotation. But if I was struggling for funds, I'd have no hesitation in dropping one of them and just playing the other the full season. In defence, I think loads of defenders are great value, and I know some of the higher tier have dropped in price, but looking at the initial defender list, I don't think you need to go above 5 million, to be honest. I think you can invest that money elsewhere. So that's what I've done to start with here. We've got Ben White from Arsenal, Romero from Spurs, Soyuncu from Leicester, and Digne from Villa, all of which I know are going to play, all of which have, I've got Arsenal, Spurs player probably going to get top four or at least a good shout. They're going to be competitive. So Yunchu will be back after injury from last season, and he is the first choice defender for Leicester. Okay, who, when everyone's fit, they are firing. They are looking at a top eight, top seven potential team. And Digne for Villa. Villa started turning it around towards the end of last season, and Digne is that sort of set piece taker slash crosser slash assist maker that you could really get a bit of attacking returns from. Few big hitters in midfield. Started with Son and De Bruyne. I've got a couple of Man City players in, and we'll go into that in a bit more detail in a second. But for me, if you're going to get somebody in from Man City's midfield, it has to be De Bruyne. I think with the clear pre-season, he is the one that is going to play the most. He is as nailed on as a Man City player can be, and everything goes through him, especially now they've got a more focal point in attack, probably going to get even more goals. And the same for Son. I think Spurs have a real chance, okay, finishing at least top three this season. And I think Son is more expensive than Kane. And I had Kane towards the end of last season. And I kept thinking when Son was outscoring, I was like, oh, Kane's probably going to turn it around, turn it around. One of these weeks he's going to outscore Son. And it never really happened. And the reason is in this new system by Conte, Kane's playing a lot deeper, and Son is sort of running on off those flick-ons, off those through balls from Kane, and Son is the one that's finishing those chances. So I think he is an absolute must-get in the start of your season. Also in the midfield, we've gone with Saka, another Arsenal player. I just think Saka is a solid player. He looks to be favoured, especially in last season. He was more than more nailed on players for Arsenal, and I think he has that goal and assist potential. He's very forward thinking, and anything Arsenal do going forwards, I think he'll be involved. Finishing the midfield, we've got Harry Wilson there. Now, I always think it's worth taking a risk on one or two newly promoted players. Do you want your squad to be absolutely covered in them? Absolutely not. But I think those first few weeks of the season before opposition teams figure them out and strategize against them and plan for their attacks, I think some of these players can score really well. I guess you could also look at someone like Mitrovic in attack instead of Wilson. It's completely up to you, but get somebody in. Doesn't have to be from Fulham, from one of the newly promoted teams. I think the upside is there. And if not, you've not really lost anything. You can transfer them out again pretty quick if you read that situation and it's not happening for you. So we get into the big money signings up front. Now, normally I would stay away from people that have transferred to a new club and especially transferred from another country. But I just think, how can you not get Haaland in your team? If you are doing a first draft at least and you don't have Haaland in your team, you are taking a massive risk here. Sure, he could be an absolute flop, it could take time to settle, but I genuinely think he might stop the trend of, players taking time in new teams. I think he could hit the ground running. And if you don't have him in your team, you're going to get him in your team in the first 3, 4 weeks. And it's probably going to be for a price increase. And you'll have already lost those points on people that had him at the start of the season. This lad is going to score goals and he's going to get you points. And to be honest, even on the off chance he doesn't, you can sell him and invest the money elsewhere in your team because he's one of the most expensive players in the game. So you can downgrade for literally any other striker in FPL off of him, and you don't need to worry about price rises really because they'll still be below his price. So I think that if you can work a way to get him in your team, absolutely do it. Also gone with Gabriel Jesus, three Arsenal players. I think Jesus is also that sort of striker. He is Premier League, he's been in there through a few seasons. I genuinely think he could get about 20 goals if he's playing for Arsenal up front, week in, week out. We know he can score goals in the Prem. We know he's got a good training setup, sort of build up from Man City. He's going to someone like Arteta, who he knows already. I just think, I don't see a downside for Jesus. He's probably the lowest risk transfer you're going to find this season for FPL. And I just think he could absolutely be fantastic for Arsenal this season. Looking at the bench, I've got a couple of cheap ones. I always do, but I've also gone with this lad Undav. Now he's 25, 26. He's coming from the Belgian league, I think, and Brighton actually signed him in January and loaned him back. So he's probably had chance to sort of plan his life out in England a little bit. And Brighton are the sort of team that people have always said they create loads of chances, but all they need is a striker. This guy could be it. He might not be it, but I absolutely think it's worth a chance. Obviously, all three of my strikers are transfers, and that could absolutely backfire. But last season, the strikers weren't it. Everyone was focusing on the midfield, and you were looking at sort of these mid-range cheap strikers that were good value for money. So I think if you can, take a chance on some different strikers this season, why not go for it? I really feel like this Undav, if he gets off to a good start, he could be the signing of the season for Brighton. It absolutely might backfire for them, and he might be another player that's just not quite there, but I think it's worth a chance. So that is my team. Looking at that there. Please let me know what you think initially. Where are the big weaknesses? Who can I transfer out? Have I taken too many risks? I'm sure it'll change before the start of the season, but let me know if you've got any questions as well. Thank you very much for listening. Like I said at the start of the video, please like and subscribe. Appreciate any support, and hopefully, we're going to have a great season in terms of getting videos out and making the content. And I will see you in the next one.